Mr. Darcy's nice and snugly underneath my studio desk. He's ready to take a nap while I do some art. Welcome in. I'm about to show you my October layouts for my bullet journal. I know I'm a day late and $1 short. That's nothing new for me. I'm Viv. If we haven't met, welcome on in. This is Art with Viv, and we're just gonna get started. So let's go to the studio. So I have my October journal here. This is my cover art. I will link the video of that below. And I'm just doing simple layouts this month. They're almost exactly like last month's in September. These layouts will be available in my Patreon. But the first thing I'm doing, I'm using gouache, and I am just painting in the background to my art. This is my calendar, my month at a glance, and I'm just doing a nice purple back there just to sort of go along with that cover art with the kitty and the moon. And I'm not trying to make it too even right now. I don't care if it looks streaky. It kind of adds to that spooky look in my opinion. So I'm just going to get all of that painted in and all the way across the top and try to paint delicately around that October that I have drawn out there. And I'm trying to be really careful. It doesn't matter if I accidentally paint over a little bit of the lettering because this is gouache and you can paint light over dark with gouache. You just have to let it dry completely. So I'm being really careful but not super careful. And then once I get all of this top part painted in with the background color of purple, I'm going to go down to that little square at the very bottom of the calendar and paint that in as well. And I'm just doing the same, and I'm painting directly over my spider web drawing. I can still see it through because I'm doing more of a wash with this gouache rather than making it opaque and solid. I'm doing more of a painterly, watercolory effect with it. So I'm not really worried about that. Even if I couldn't see it, I know what a spider web looks like, and so I can just go right over it. Next up, after that background dries, I'm coming in with some yellows and oranges, and I'm just painting in my lettering of October. And I'm wanting that to be just a little bit lighter on the top and a little bit darker on the bottom. So I'm going with the yellow, the brighter yellow on the top, and the more orangey color on the bottom. And then I'm going to paint all of those in, and I have switched to a much smaller brush. These are my Golden Maple detail brushes. I love those for gouache. I use them all the time, and so I cannot recommend them enough. And I'll link them below as well in case you want to check those out. And they work great for watercolor as well. I just have gravitated toward gouache with them because I've been doing that Pantone postcard challenge, even though I'm not doing it every day. It's supposed to be 100 postcards in 100 days. Not me. That is not this girl. This girl don't do that. I'm doing it at my own pace. So it might be, 100 in a year. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Went ahead and got my Posca pen, and I'm just going ahead and drawing in my spider web with my white Posca pen. And I can pretty much see the outline, so I'm not getting too frou-frou with it. We're not about the frou-frou here on this channel. We just about getting it done and not getting our panties all up in a wad. So I've got that going. I'm going to go ahead and do the spider webs at the top as well. once I get those spider webs to my liking, and I'm kind of darkening in some of that area because it did bleed a little bit, I went ahead and got my nice fine liner, black fine liner, and I felt like that October was sort of blending into the background, so I'm just going to outline it with my black fine liner. And this is an Ohuhu black fine liner. I will also link that below if you would like. And I'm just carefully just outlining. That gives them a little bit more separation from that background, and it doesn't blend in visually. Once I got that done, then of course I went ahead and I just marked out all of the boxes. I didn't show you the whole process. You know how to draw straight lines with a ruler. And so that's all I did, is I just took my black fine liner and drew in the calendar boxes. Now I'm just adding some shadows to the webs with that fine liner, and that's because I feel like that the webs are kind of blending into the background a little bit, so I'm just giving it some shadow with my marker. And there you go, that is my month at a glance layout. Very simple. Next thing, I'm going to go get some of my watercolor markers, and I'm just coloring in the headers where the days of the week go, and I've decided to go with orange on those. And I'm just getting those nice and colored in, and I'm doing that before I mark the days of the week, because if you mark the days of the week with your black and then you come back, you smear your black and it looks ugly. So I'm going to do this first. I'm doing little tiny circles for the dates in each of those little calendar boxes. I'm keeping it pretty simple. Like I usually just use this particular planner I just use for content planning, so it doesn't have to be too complicated. So I've got a little place for notes for the month on the side, and that could just be, a quick overview of what I need to do for the month. Excuse me. Then I am just writing in the initials for the days of the week, and then all of the dates. And once I get those dates in, then I'm just going to do some lines over here on my notes section. And that just makes it easier to read when I'm writing, and it keeps each line separated. So I find that a lot easier to read once I do the lines through it. So the next one is my content planner. And I have made a Dutch door, because the next layout is going to be my weekly layout. So I like to do a Dutch door. I started doing this last month and it worked so well. I'm doing it again this month. So on the left-hand side, I have October. I have a small calendar that I've written under there, and then whatever overview I need for my content for October, I put a box under there, and then I've got 4 more boxes that I've written content plan over. Then I am just going to go ahead and mark those in with my black pen. I didn't show cutting the pages. I showed that last month in my September. I'll link my September bullet journal also below, so if you want to go look at that to see how I did it. I just cut off 8 bullet spaces off of the right hand page, and then each page after that for each of my weekly spreads. And I just love doing it this way now. Of course, next month I might change it up. So here we go. I'm just outlining this with my black marker. And in each one of those, one column is going to be for YouTube. One column is going to be all the content I need to make for Patreon. One content will be for social media like Reels or Shorts, things like that. And then I have one at the very end, and that's just tasks to keep me on the project, to keep me organized. And just like I did with my month at a glance, I'm going ahead and coloring in these headers with my Tombow markers, my watercolor markers. And then I'm just going to write what each column is for: YouTube, Patreon, my socials, and then my action plan. And then on this is just like a to-do list or what needs to be done overall. Now you see where I cut each one, and now I am going to do my weekly spread. So this is week 1. That's how I like to label it. Some people do like the yearly weeks, like this would be year, I don't know, 86. I don't know, there's only 52 weeks in a year. This would be whatever week of the year it is, but I like to do monthly weeks. So this is the first week of the month, so it's week 1. That's how I do it. You can see that I did the horizontal layout for the days of the week, plus I have one block at the very top, and that's my notes, and that gives me an overview of the actions I need to take to plan and get all of my content made for that week. I have that box for that. And then if you'll look to the right hand side, you'll see my November calendar. So when I have my weeks open and I'm looking at a single week, I can see both October and November calendars so that I can plan accordingly however I need to. Both of them also have to-do lists under each of the calendars. So that just makes it so easy for me to sort of see where I'm at and see where I need to go and have it all in one spot without having to write those calendars over and over on each week. I don't have to write October's calendar over on each individual week. I have it cut so that I can see that October calendar no matter which week I'm in. So now I am just painted that number 1 for the first week. I painted around it to look like a moon with a nice bright yellow. The background's going to be purple. I'm just staying with the same color scheme, and I've drawn some mushrooms, so I'm just painting around those mushrooms using my small golden maple detail brush. And again, I'm not trying to get too frou-frou. I just want a nice purple background. So once I get this background painted in to my satisfaction, oh, and that is another tip. You see I've put a piece of cardstock behind that. Since it is cut, I don't want that purple paint to get onto my page that is a lot longer than that. So I put that piece of cardstock to catch any overflow paint. I let that background dry. Once it's dry, I'm just going to paint in my mushrooms a nice red color, add a little orange and yellow to lighten up some of the areas, maybe a little bit of the white gouache too, and that just gives it a little bit of a highlight on my mushrooms. The other ones, I'm going to paint a nice blue And it's very much like my cover art that I did. So if you want to see maybe a little bit more of a detailed description, you can watch that video. But I'm basically just doing the base coat of the red mushrooms and then adding in a little yellow and white, doing a base coat of the blue mushrooms, and then just adding in a little darker blue and a little bit of white for the highlights. So it's not anything complicated, no complicated techniques for this. I'm trying to, make it a little bit simpler since I went with that really complicated cover art. I'm just going to take my black gouache and paint in the number 1. You could use purple or blue or red if you want. I just decided I wanted to go with black because my cover art has the black cat, so I'm still trying to, just keep that same color scheme going through. And I decided to use a nice burnt orange for November over here. I'm just going to go ahead and paint in the NOV for November with that sort of burnt orangish brown. Yeah, that's looking nice. And I'm not going to show you how each and every little line that I color in. So we are just going to just do the little snap. And there it is. That is my weekly layout. All right, let's go through. That's my cover art. I have a whole separate video for that. My month at a glance. Really love that. My content plan with the Dutch doors that lead into my weeklies. And then each weekly is in between the October and November. So if you just keep flipping those Dutch doors, you'll go to week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, whatever. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate it. Happy journaling.